expert guest on this Titanic submersible.
Oh, might emigrate soon. It's just a constant pain for people. It's not as high as it was, but it is just very stubborn, isn't it?
It is. It ain't going anywhere, isn't it? Let's talk right now about the search for the Titanic sub. Rear Admiral Dr Chris Parry is a former Royal Navy commander and joined us yesterday to talk about this. Joins us once again. Good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Julia.
Thank you for joining us. Now, look, you were really, frankly, the voice of, I would say, doom and gloom, but probably also reality yesterday when you talked about the slim chances of us finding this sub, and indeed finding the sub with the 5 men on board still alive. What is your reaction to the news confirmed by the Coast Guard in America that some noises have been detected by a plane?
Yeah, I mean, I've operated this system myself. You get a lot of mechanical noise in the ocean, trying to differentiate it from sort of tapping noises, as it were. I'm afraid is a fool's errand. Titanic herself is making a lot of noises under the water because she's made of metal. But I would have to ask people, if you're inside a carbon fiber hull that is proof supposedly down to 12,500 feet, how on earth are you going to tap the hull? That's not a mechanical noise, that's a dull thud. I'm afraid people are grasping at straws here, and I'm really concerned that we don't divert attention away from trying to find the submersible where it really is.
Well, we know that the submersible lost contact with the tug, a boat that was on the surface. 1 hour, 45 minutes into its journey down. It's around a 2.5-hour journey to the Titanic. The reports yesterday claiming that the sub was basically above the Titanic when they lost contact with it. We also know that it had 96 hours at best case scenario on board. Of course, if people are panicking, if there's been any other problems with the power, we think if they lost contact, it may well be a power loss. There will be more concerns about whether or not they still have an oxygen supply. But as of yesterday, we were told there were 40 hours, I think at 6 p.m. UK time yesterday, we were told by the US Coast Guard they had 40 hours of left. 27, best case scenario right now. Could well be less than that, especially 5 men panicking, and I can't believe you wouldn't panic in what many are calling effectively a tomb at the bottom of the sea. I certainly would be panicking as this goes on. There are 2 issues here. One is finding the sub, a 21-foot fiberglass, so carbon fibre, tiny little thing in the middle of this ocean, 370 miles from the coast. And the other is actually, if it is still under the water, getting it to the surface, and then actually doing it within this 27-hour window.
Yeah, it's impossible.
You think there's no chance, but some people, as experts, are saying there's a 1% chance. You're saying that there's no chance we'll get these men out alive.
Absolutely not. I can't see any vessel at the moment that is able to bring that submersible to the surface, even when it's found. At the moment, we've got some deep submergence underwater vehicles heading there. There's some American ones. There's one called the Curve 21, which is the US Navy one, goes down to 20,000 feet. But these are unmanned vehicles. They might be able to put something around a submersible were they to find it. But let's be clear, the search pattern for these things is very tiny indeed. It's like ploughing a field, going up and down in a very small area. You can't do it over vast areas. So with the time running out, it's going to be very, very difficult to be able to do this.
There are huge resources being put into this, not just US Coast Guard, Canadian Coast Guard, British Royal Navy have offered their help. But again, we are looking at those vast distances. We know lots of private companies are involved in this, in the search. There are also a lot of concerns about, this huge manpower effort and the cost of it, and a lot of concerns about the safety of this vessel in the first place. Front page of the Sun today got an interview with a man who was due to be on this sub, on this journey. This is Chris Brown, and he said he paid a deposit, and then he thought they were cutting. He said that they were cutting costs. They were using scaffolding poles. The whole thing is being driven by effectively a games console bought on Amazon, for 40-odd quid. And he just felt, there's just no way this is safe. So he said, I want my money back, please. Do you think there have been enough safety controls on this sort of expedition?
No, not at all. This is a totally unregulated space. In fact, the company admits on its paperwork that this is an experimental design, and actually you won't sue them for any injury, emotional trauma or death. I mean, it's quite extraordinary, the risks that people are taking to take part in this extreme tourism. And I'm afraid, I think there's a certain amount of cognitive dissonance has gone out the window when people have been calibrating the risks. I mean, you've only got to ask yourself, what if something goes wrong down there? What is the second solution? Well, there isn't one.
Yeah. But I'm stunned by the fact that they didn't have another craft available. They didn't have any means by which they could recall this vehicle. If there were a lot, as it appears to have been, a loss of power, basically there's no way of getting it back up again.
Well, no, I mean, it's just simple things, Julia. You know, why hasn't it got a tethered wire that's got a buoy on it that floats on the surface that you can actually see? You can actually achieve that. There's no problem with that. I'm afraid to say we had a maverick innovator here in Mr. Rush, and he was allowed to get away with it because this is an unregulated space.
Indeed.
Sorry about that.
Right, I know I'm going to have to let you go. I know you've got another interview to get to. You're going to be a very busy man. I mean, I wish we could have more hope. I was getting all hopeful this morning, Chris Parry, but I mean, yeah, I think a reality check there from an expert, former Royal Navy commander. Thank you very much indeed, Admiral Dr.